Okay, today we're gonna make Kibbi, which is raw kibbi. The meat I prefer is, you want it to be very lean, not much fat on it, because you don't want any fat in this. So I usually get the eye of round, and I get about a 3 pound. You can make a smaller amount with 2 pounds in a smaller pan, but we're doing 3 pounds today, which is what our recipe is showing. So this is, to me, the best cut of meat to get for the Kibbi. Okay, so the first thing we do is grind this meat the first time. I have a commercial meat grinder that I use, but most of you probably aren't going to have that. You do need a grinder of some sort, though, for this dish. Some people have a KitchenAid, there's an attachment for it, or you can just have a plain basic meat grinder, but you do need one to prepare this dish. You can also have, I've cut up that meat, my roast, according to my grinder, the size I need it. You would need to do that according to the size of your grinder. But you can also have the butcher do the first grind on this. When you buy the meat, then have him fine grind it there at the store, and then you bring it home, but you are gonna have to grind it a second time. Okay, now the meat does need to be ground fine. So you need the fine blade, and most grinders come with 2 blades. One's a coarse grind, you can see the holes are bigger. The other's a fine grind, they're little holes, and that's the one you want to use to grind the meat. I'm going to show you quickly with mine, but again, mine is a commercial grinder, and you're going to see it come out. Again, you can have this first part done at the store. If you have this a grinder that isn't... Okay, now the next step, we're going to add our onions. This is about 4 smaller onions. If you've got real large onions, I wouldn't use more than 3. And I've cut these into wedges because this wedge fits in my grinder. You've got to make it, whatever grinder you've got, the size you need it, okay? So you're going to now start to grind the onion. Don't know where I'm You're gonna see it start to come out. So all of the onion has to be ground. Okay, so we've got that mixed really, really well the first time. Now it's time for the second grind. And with this, you need some ice water, because we need to moisten this now as it goes through this grinder. And for me, with this grinder, I just kind of make long little things here, and I'm gonna put it through the grinder. However you get it through. So I'm gonna add water with my hands. Just keep it going through until you've reground this all the second time. It's gonna go through, you'll see it. You're gonna get a lot of the onion juice that's left over from the first grind. See, it's starting to come through. Keep that going. I add water to my hands. Okay, so we've ground the onions in the meat, the first grind. Now we've got to add the bulgur, which this is a type of bulgur you want to get. This is cracked wheat, and it's the fine grind. So there's different numbers, number 1. And we've got about 3 cups here for this 3 pounds of meat. I'm going to add that. We're going to add our spices, which is marjoram, and I prefer the leaves, marjoram leaves, over the ground. We use a tablespoon and a half of the marjoram. I added cinnamon this time. It's not really on the recipe, but most people do use it. We're going to put a tablespoon and a half of cinnamon. We're going to put 2 tablespoons of mint, dried mint, and then a tablespoon and a half of salt, and pepper to taste. Just pepper. Okay, so we're going to add that. Okay, now we've got it all added. We're going to have to mix this with our hands, so you got to get your hands in this. It's kind of mushy. You want to get this mixed very well, all of this together. And this just takes some time. Again, you want to mix it well using your hands. Okay, so we've ground the meat a second time. Now we've got to work it again with our hands to mix all this back together, and we're going to add more water. The reason we need to add water is because that bulgur is dried, cracked wheat. It's hard. It needs moisture to help it to absorb it, so your kibbi won't be too dry. So I'd say I've got probably about a cup or maybe a cup and a half. Well, I'm gonna try to work most of that in here with it. Just keep adding it. I just do it with my hands. You're gonna mix this up, and then we'll keep adding some more water. This is a little easier the second time. It's not quite as stiff. And we just wanna mix it really well. Okay, so I've mixed this up real thoroughly with my hands. I've added water as I was going. I would guess approximately a cup to a cup and a half of water, but you have to feel it. You can see right here, it's been mixed really well. It's soft, but you don't want it drippy. I mean, it needs to have soft, but not mushy. Okay, when you're through mixing the kibbeh up, you're gonna form a loaf, and you're gonna put it into a platter. And then you can put any design you want. I'm just gonna do a cross, just because. Using a fork. This isn't very pretty, but hey guys. Again, you can make more designs with your fork, it's up to you. And then you're gonna let this set for a while before serving because the cracked wheat needs to set and get soft. And then, when you go to serve this, you're going to place, get your portion, and then I usually melt more butter into this hashwa for raw kibbi, so it's real buttery, and you're gonna then serve it with hashwa on top of the kibbeh, of the serving. There it is.